Welcome to the Clean Slate with your hosts, Daniel Garza and Carson Phillips, providing you with movie news, reviews, and more. Sit back, relax, and don't forget to go to the concessions to get your popcorn and drinks. For your entertainment, this is the Clean Slate Podcast.
Welcome back to the Clean Slate Podcast. I'm Carson Phillips. That's Daniel Garza. Today we are recording. Today we watched the Martin Scorsese film Cape Fear. This is a one-off birthday celebration for myself. So I just chose a Scorsese film that I haven't seen. I've been working my way through his filmography. A lot of great films. This is one I haven't seen, so decided to give it a little test run for today's episode.
Nice. All right, guys, so we watched Cape Fear. So here's the log line. A convicted rapist released from prison after serving a 14-year sentence stalks the family of the lawyer who originally defended him. Ooh.
Dang, that's why you don't defend rapists.
Yikes. All right, let's chill.
They should
we only get
make
a few of those, right?
They should make a sequel of Diddy.
Yeah, true. All right, guys, so the main cast in this one is just really Robert De Niro. He is...
he plays every character. That'd be sick.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he's the only notable. But obviously directed by Martin Scorsese. So, I don't know. Do you want to go through just give him a little rundown. I feel like it's kind of a funky film.
Yeah, I mean, it has a simple-ish plot, but there's a lot of dynamics going on. But basically, the setup is Robert De Niro. He's like a Southern criminal. He gets released from jail. And initially, he was illiterate, I believe, before learning how to read in prison and learning more about his case. He finds out some information was purposely left out of his trial. That way, he was guaranteed to go to jail. Yeah, so that's essentially his motivation for revenge. I mean, he already is a bad person before he goes to jail. And then when he gets educated, he's like a bad person on crack. So he just gets even more evil. It seems like he was already evil before, so it's not like one of those films where he's getting justice for being wrongly convicted or whatever.
Right.
And so he starts targeting this lawyer and his family, and he kind of keeps everything within the bounds of the law for the most part. Like, he doesn't reveal enough of his evil intentions to get arrested or stopped. Like, he is manipulating everyone basically and using the law to his advantage to torment this family. And that leads to horrific places, ultimately, and quite a intense ending. There is a great Simpsons episode that is basically a remake of this movie, so that's fun. Oh. But yeah, this movie's something else. It's more of a psychological thriller than anything else.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. That's pretty much it. There's a lot more like in-depth things that happen too about the husband, who is the lawyer who defended him. He is kind of having a side fling with but kind of not really.
It's an affair, but it's not physical.
Yeah, it's kind of like an emotional affair.
Yeah.
And mainly it's just wrong because she's like, oh yeah, your wife doesn't know about me, and he's like, nah, she'd freak out if she did. And it's like, all right, whoa.
And she does.
Yeah. So there's that aspect to it, and then you got his innocent daughter he has, who's just kind of like caught in the middle.
She gets groomed.
Yeah, and it's really kind of, so I would say overall this movie kind of has like, it's not entirely like hard to watch, but there are some scenes in there that it's just like really like, oh wow, this is mind
with
games.
Those two characters in particular. There are hard scenes, like with the side woman. There's a very intense graphic scene, so trigger warning for that. And then same thing with the daughter. I wouldn't call it like a graphic scene.
Right.
It's very uncomfy. I mean, she does a great job in that performance. So does Robert De Niro.
Right.
They both do a really good job. But yeah, it's not a fun feeling you're going to get while watching it.
Right. Yeah, so, okay, well, let's get into our likes and dislikes. Let's start off with our likes. I will say that, like, for this being kind of an old 90s film, it's got a really cool, kind of different back story and just story in general. Like, a lot of times you could think that this would go a whole different way. Like now the lawyer is going to get like brought in on something, or now he's going to be kind of like held against his will to like do some unspeakable things for Robert De Niro's character. It doesn't really go that way. It just kind of becomes like this stalker film, and the lawyer kind of like losing it after a while. So I really like that. It felt a little refreshing of a story for me. The acting in it altogether is really good. Like, I don't think there was... Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of weird acting things in it, but they're more from side characters. I wouldn't say any of the main cast is, like, a bad actor by any means. But, yeah, I would say those are kind of, like, my two biggest likes is the acting and then just the story overall. I loved it.
Kind of a refreshing story for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right terminology.
Yeah, it sounds weird to say, but it's just a different story. I would say it's a pretty original story.
You know what's funny is it's a remake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it still feels, I mean, I haven't seen the original.
Yeah, because the original
from what I understand, this
actually
is
like in the 60s.
way more mature version. Yeah. Yeah, so I hadn't seen this before either, so I had really no idea about it except for The Simpsons. I didn't know how dark it was going to be, so I do appreciate that it's a very serious film. There's some lighthearted moments and stuff here and there, but not much. So there's not a lot of room to breathe. It's a long movie, too, which is, I guess, sort of a complaint, but that length for me, it kind of felt tense almost the whole time still. Like, I was pretty anxious, like, watching this, like, on the edge of my seat, literally a couple times. The last 40 minutes, too, of this movie are, like, perfect movie. The last like 40 maybe even 50 minutes of this movie
I was gonna say that the last sequence is really cool.
It's so like literally from the house confrontation where they try to trap him to our conclusion on the boat is like, oh my goodness gracious, this is intense. And then how it all ends up, I don't want to spoil the ending, but the like tongues speaking and all that craziness at the end is like, what am I watching? And that kind of brings me to the thing that I really liked about this movie was Robert De Niro. His performance is really good. I'm not used to seeing him being this gross and creepy. So
right, and well, it's funny too because the Robert De Niro that we have now is like this old man type, and he's like really kind of like, you know, he's put on a lot of weight, all these types of, well, in some movies,
he's lovable though.
Right, but like in this movie, I was on board of like, okay, now I know why like they loved Robert De Niro back in the day. Like he was a fit dude. He's like a really good actor. You can tell like kind of where the whole like, I guess, meme or like making fun of thing from him is like the whole like, you know, the downward. Like,
he does do that face thing. A lot.
And I was like, okay, that's where it is. So yeah, a lot of
he's like the Joker in this almost.
Yeah, actually,
it's crazy,
which is kind of funny because I thought for a second I was like, he kind of has like this Joker feel to him, which I kind of hate that like take because like right now everybody compares any villain to the Joker.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, he's like so psycho.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He's like so unhinged, but also not. He's kind of a calculated character too, which I think is cool. I enjoyed that, and then also I think the visuals, like you were saying, are pretty good. I think obviously Scorsese's an expert filmmaker. I mean, it's hard to argue against that. This isn't his best work, obviously, but some of the like, I think the visuals towards the end of the movie are really, really strong.
Yeah.
Not so much at the beginning. It's kind of more getting the job done.
Well, even like the set pieces are like really cool. I was kind of in love with a lot of the sets that we were at.
Yeah, they did a great job. I think the setting's cool, and then just the morality and like of all the different characters, and like there's a guy who's like a private eye that's kind of helping them out at one point, but it's also alluded to him being like this crazy racist or something. And then like there's just like a lot of interesting moral dynamics going on that aren't fully explored, but I just appreciate that it's in this movie. And then even like the use of like scripture and stuff is kind of interesting. There's a lot going on.
You can get like, blasphemous a little bit, but
yeah, it's definitely used out of context purposely.
Yeah.
But I think the morality of the movie, even like the lawyer guy, he technically did something wrong, legally speaking, or from like a legal standpoint. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, get this guy in jail. Screw this guy. So
yeah,
that's all my likes. What, you got some dislikes? I know you initially told me you didn't love this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not my favorite movie, and I think it just is more leaning to itself of being like a 90s film.
Okay.
I would say most 80s and 90s films I don't like. They're kind of corny in their own
Except for
way.
Heat.
I didn't love
Is that another
Heat.
Robert De Niro movie?
I think so. No. Is it Robert De Niro or Al Pacino?
Al Pacino.
Or is Robert De Niro in it
it's-
also?
I think it's both of them.
No,
Are
I
we
think
stupid?
that is. I think anyway, but there's just like even some of the camera work for like these old 90s movies are just like not great. Like
What's an example from this one?
so a couple of them are like some of the pickups that we would get is like they're just long shots of him like grabbing a coffee, and then we're still holding for like 15 seconds, and then grabbing a notepad, and it's like what? And then long.
You just wanted to be snappier.
Yeah, kind of, or just like there's I think the first scene of when the private eye guy is coming to the house to like investigate things, and it's just like a long shot, and it doesn't like cameras don't cut or anything. It's just them being like, hey, like there's some dialogue. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, and then
it's
it's
more of a stylistic. gripe.
So some of the camera work is just dated. I would say it's not even like it's bad. I think it's just dated.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's probably my biggest gripe with it. And then I think I just like the last one is that it's long. It's like long to a point where it's like, okay, I know
it's
that
almost
this is
3
like
hours, I think.
yeah, kind of. But it's just like it gets to the point where it's like it gets really, really slow in the middle, and it kind of like lost my interest. But I almost wanted there to be more on the like wife finding out about the mistress.
Affair?
Yeah, more.
Because I agree, that was an interesting dynamic, and like obviously they had talked about this in the past,
right?
That's why they moved, it seems, or like it kind of alludes to that, but we don't get that story.
Yeah, and you don't really even get a final like even fix with that. It just becomes this whole thing of like, all right, well, our end is conclusion, and now we're all like, we're just all happy we're safe, kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't talk about that to each other.
Right. So I just wish there was a little bit more higher.
It's like the time our
stakes at
butts
the end.
touched, we don't talk about it anymore.
You just had to throw that in there, huh?
Yeah, this is the birthday episode.
Anyway, so what are your dislikes?
Yeah, I think my biggest one is something that you kind of touched on towards the end there, was it has a very abrupt ending. And that's fine, but if we didn't have all this like we have all this build up and like all this exploration of characters that we don't really get a final word on.
Yeah.
Some of these even side characters. Like I care about like the woman he's having an affair with. Like I want to know what happens to her. Like is she okay? I don't know.
Yeah.
She's not having a great day, great week. Or even like the private eye. Like I feel like he's kind of an important character and we don't know that much about him, but we had plenty of movie to find out what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And then, what happens to him sucks, but he's like one of my favorite characters, but I know nothing about him.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the abruptness and then just not knowing where the family ends up is a bit, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me, especially because we have someone that's narrating the beginning and end of the film. We could have maybe done like middle narration or maybe a little extra narration at the end or something. I don't know. But other than that, like that, and then I guess I would agree it is a tad bit too long.
Yeah.
Or maybe if we just made that middle a little bit more intense, because we build a lot of tension, but also sometimes it feels like it's not building or ramping up as fast as I wish it would.
Yeah. And it kind of leaves you on a
those-
cliffhanger because you don't know, like, right? He's this psycho mastermind kind of guy, and you don't actually know if like what his conclusion is really. Like you kind of
I kind of
guess, but you at the same time are like, do we actually know?
I feel like there's more we could have learned about him in general.
Yeah.
Like I get he was illiterate and evil, but there's got to be more to him than just like he just becomes a genius in prison. Like that's not quite what I expect to happen.
I mean,
like he was
14
probably
years,
already
man, that
smart
can change
beforehand.
but yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, all right. What
Maybe
would
I
you
should go
give
to prison
this
for 14 years.
for your birthday? What would you give it? How many spankings? Carson approved birthday spankings.
Four solid smacks to Robert De Niro's butt.
Really? 4? Okay, I was gonna do 3 smacks.
I just had such a fun time watching this one, man.
Okay.
Like I
It
was
is a
like,
fun journey.
my heart was palpitating.
Yeah, it is a fun journey. Okay, cool. Well, guys, I think this movie is a renter, so if you want to check it out, you can check it out on any place that you can rent a movie.
It pops up on streaming time to time.
Yeah. So, and also happy birthday to Carson, even though it was about a week ago since we celebrated his birthday. So last week's episode technically released on the day after his birthday celebration.
If you haven't seen that, go check it out.
Yes.
I'm proud of that episode.
We did try a new format out on our last episode. It's kind of a deep dive into like true stories. So we're calling it a behind the film series type of thing.
We're workshopping the name.
Behind the motion picture. I don't know. Yeah, we're figuring it out. Anyway, guys, so go check that out. If you haven't yet, follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, and also give us 5 stars on wherever you can listen to a podcast. Recommend us to your friends, and leave a comment down below of what movies you would like us to review. But until then, we will see you next time for another cool month of movies. So, peace.
That's a clean slate.